Hello, and welcome to the SharePoint Framework and JavaScript Special Interest Group Biweekly Sync. It is April 25th, 2019. This will be our last meeting in the month of April, but very excited for what's to come. We've got, as usual, our engineering update on SharePoint Framework, updates around the Patterns and Practices program offerings, and then demos from Ramin, David, and Federico. So we've got printing list items using different templates, which is very cool. Async loading library components, which is a neat approach to solving that problem. And then Federico with creating modern pages with PnP JS. Excited to see that as well, and always great to see people using PnP JS in the demos. No offense to Ramin and David, but I'm sure that will be the coolest demo because it uses PnP JS. Kidding, of course, everybody. Just a quick statement on Teams. Microsoft Teams, we know about it. We want to use it, but it does not yet support entirely all the features we need for running these kinds of calls, specifically around letting different people be presenters, and then also the idea that anybody could present content, which presents for us a challenge. And I feel like I use the word present in all those sorts of things. Yeah, Skype now pushes to install Teams. Trust me, I've been getting that for months internally here. But we will carry on with Skype just right up until the moment that Teams supports what we needed to support, and then we will move over just as soon as we can. So just let folks know that. Often, folks are wondering, how can you participate in PnP, both in these calls and in the larger Patterns and Practices program? The best ways, in my opinion, are through demos. We love the demos. Community demos are the best parts of these calls. So you can do an SPFx demo on any of the various things you can do around SPFx, as well anything in the @PnP list of offerings. So that could be PnP JS, the CLI, the reusable controls, or the community Yeoman generator. Any of those and all of those together potentially make great demos, so always like to see those. As well, you can always contribute on GitHub by reporting issues, submitting pull requests, helping out, of course, with issues and questions. Always appreciate that and appreciate everybody's work there on GitHub across all of our projects. It's really wonderful to see. So thank you to everybody there. And then finally, you can always provide us feedback. We always appreciate the feedback. Feedback can be, how are the calls going, what's documentation needs, where can we help, things like that. Just a reminder, we can't always act instantly on any piece of feedback, but we do take them to heart, we do discuss them, and we do, where possible, either adjust our plans for the future or try and change things as they sit, depending on the feedback. So we always appreciate that feedback, so keep that coming. That is always great and always appreciated, and it really helps inform us on what we can do better in the program and where we can put our energy into growing so that you all are getting the most out of the work that's being done by everybody in the community. So thank you to everybody that's demoed, contributed, and provided feedback in the past, and look forward to everybody doing so in the future. So now, yes, and stay respectful. That's a great comment from Hugo. Do always appreciate folks staying respectful in the feedback and understanding that for all of us, this is a labor of love and a labor of volunteer time. So this is time away from friends, family, other hobbies, things like that. And that's for everybody, not just me, not just Vesa, but for everybody who contributes. So understand, there is some time pressure there, and stay respectful, but we are all here trying to help. So with that, I will hand things over to Vesa for the SharePoint Framework update.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. So let's actually get moving on that one as well. So let me actually get in here. Nothing too dramatical to be fair, since last week we did have, last community call, we did actually have one release, but let's talk about that one in a second. Just to remind us, AKMS SP Dev Docs, the documentation source, AKMS SP Dev Videos, that's where the recordings will be, all of the demos and everything else will be there, and then AKMS SP Dev Issues. So so all of the dev issues, SharePoint developer-oriented issues. We've been seeing every now and then now issues getting opened here related on third-party experiences, so basically something which is out of the box. We cannot, unfortunately, address those issues through the issue list if it's out of the box capabilities. So that's issue list is only for the development-oriented issues. So please report anything out of the box stuff using then the tenant admin UI support channels. Now, few things in here. So moving on the slides. So few reminders. So this one, we had a blog post last week. If you're looking into having a demo content, demo structures, where you want to then demonstrate your web part in the context of a cool looking modern portals, you can actually easily get your portal and example portal structures provisioned using the provisioning SharePoint PnP.com service. Really great service. It takes like 1 minute to 5 minutes depending on the template which you choose to get it provisioned, but you can actually spin up multiple templates at the same time. One reminder related on the service, some of the templates do have pre-requirements, so please check them out. We will keep on evolving the service, so pretty soon it will actually double check your environment on behalf of you, and it will tell you if something is missing. So it doesn't actually give you the indication that it starts provisioning and then afterwards fails. So we keep on evolving this all the time. We're about to release also updates on the templates relatively soon. So on the early May timeframe, there will be new templates coming up quite soon as well, which will be addressing or demonstrating cool modern SharePoint capabilities. But like I said, if you're looking into having a, let's say, a demo environment for your customers, for your own environments, or for your own company, or just a cool looking portal which you can use for demonstrating a web part, you can easily use this environment or this tool to generate example content. And if there's any feedback around that, please do give us input and feedback and suggestions how to improve the service. Now, a few kind of pointers related on SharePoint Framework, just an update on the metrics or the charts. We can see a small impact due to the Eastern holidays, but we're now back in line starting from Tuesday and Wednesday. So Europe basically was out of business on Monday due to Eastern holidays, which is a public holiday in many of the European countries. We did release SharePoint Framework 1.8.1 after the last community call, which is addressing some of the regressions what we had in 1.8, and then we're looking into having 1.8.2 actually coming out soon as well. So there are certain scenarios where, for example, if you have a large SharePoint Framework solution, there's a memory consumption challenges and there's certain version conflicts challenges and all of those, and those are planned to now get addressed in the 1.8.2, which is coming relatively soon. I can promise that it won't come this week, but it's coming like in the matter of days or within a few weeks. And then 1.9 is coming later after that, most likely in the May timeframe. Potentially might be delayed until early June. The key points on the 1.9 is general availability on the library component. We will have a demo later today by David on the library component. Additional content extensions might be there. Additional SPFx extensibility points might be there across Office 365 services. Content security policy, can't promise that yet, but we're looking into making that happen. And in a longer term, we're looking into open sourcing the out-of-the-box Yeoman generator as well, which will then mean that we'll merge the existing PnP Yeoman generator and the out-of-the-box Yeoman generator. I can't promise an exact time frame for that one. React support is definitely on React 16x version. In well, you can already now use 16.6 if I remember correctly in SPFx. But the challenge what we're having right now is that we don't explicitly document how to use the later versions of the React. So 16.8 is actually already currently supported. So you can actually use 16.x React as long as you align the different versions of Office UI Fabric and TypeScript and everything else. But that's the challenge currently, that we haven't actually documented that. So we haven't provided you the guidance on how to make that happen. And that's one of the, so providing that guidance is one of the things what we're looking into now making happen as part of the 1.8.2. So that's coming relatively soon. Cool. And then bubbling under is the store and app store story getting clarified, branding improvements in the modern sites. There will be new capabilities on there. And then Comify root site collection on the tenant. I think that was actually, well, that's definitely information that has been announced. And I think we actually are now already providing that out. And it's available for targeted release tenant, unless I'm completely mistaken. By default, already, if you right now create a new tenant in Office 365, the root site collection is a communication site. But the Comify root site collection is for transforming existing tenants' root site collection, which is a classic theme site, to be a communication site. And I think I had one more slide before we move on. Things what we are currently been working on, like I said, 1.8.2 is the short-term update coming relatively soon, addressing memory consumption and conflicts and all of that. The IM window chat was a good reminder, like the React 16.8 support. It is actually supported, but we haven't documented that. Updated guidance on the app pages with the image handling details, so how to handle and include your own images for the app page experiences within the page layout UIs. That's more details on that one coming later. SharePoint Starter Kit updates with the Teams and app pages support coming quite soon. SharePoint Starter Kit is basically demonstrating how to use and build complex portals, and it has 17 different web parts and extensions and all of that. And then on the provisioning service side, we're looking into support much wider set of capabilities, so supporting, for example, Teams templates, so you can have one really cool large template which is provisioning multiple site collections, and then Teams structures and Teams tabs which are pointing back on the SharePoint for a easy demonstration. So really cool stuff coming soon. But that's it from my side. Patrick, your turn. And I can point out, Patrick, it's a pity that the animations don't seem to work actually when we're sharing a presentation in here.
Do they not? Is there an animation on the slide now?
Yeah, of course there is. I tried to make some animations there just for the sake of it, but I can say that the things are not jumping.
It's faded in there. Well, it's not jumping.
Yeah.
So, quick updates on the...
they're moving.
Jumped. There's some animation there. So, quick updates on the PnP offerings from the program here. So, the first PnP JS client-side libraries. Really, right now, the focus is on 2.0. Lots of work going on behind the scenes. We're going to create a project in GitHub so to help track that work. And if you're interested in helping out on that, just let us know, and we'll. I haven't yet in my life created a project in GitHub, so we'll see how that works and see about. I think we can assign people to tasks and things like that. So let us know if you're interested in helping. We're going to be getting that spun up, and this release is going to be very much focused on paying off a lot of our technical debt. So writing tests for everything, and then a lot of improvements in the documentation. Which has been lacking in the past. So we're going to really focus on that for 2.0. And internally, we're focused on providing a launching point for the next series of changes and things we want to make internal to the library. And our goal, as always, is to have minimal disruption to existing projects. There will be a few changes required, and we'll talk about that, when the time's right, but minimal. We're aiming for minimal changes to existing projects. So we don't want to blow up the world and make everybody rewrite all their projects just to move to 2.0. And as always, I want to say thank you to everybody that has contributed, both issues and pro tip, write the documentation first. Well, unfortunately, we can't go back in time. But thank you to everybody that's contributed, and we always very much appreciate that. All the issues, all the feedback, all the things like that is very great and very much appreciated. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't ever say that enough to the folks that contribute. You can find the documentation that exists now at pnp.github.io/PnPjs. You can follow the hashtag PnPjs on Twitter, and you can follow me on Twitter at MediocreBowler. And I really generally just kind of tweet about PnPjs, so you won't get a lot of spam or things like that from me. Everybody that's saying count me in, that's awesome. I really am excited about that. For how you can help, We'll have more details on that, like I said, once we get the project set up in GitHub. That way it'll be everybody can see what's going on. There won't be anything really hidden. And so we'll again, I haven't created a project before, but I assume, like all sorts of things like this, you can create tasks or some type of thing that can be assigned. So we'll create a bunch of tasks, and if you see one in there that is the kind of thing you want to work on, let us know. And I don't know, I bet you can't self-assign, but we'll get you assigned, and we'll get everybody that wants to help will have absolutely an opportunity to do so, and we'll make sure that happens. Updates on the Office 365 CLI. New beta 1.18 with commands for renewing Office 365 group expiration, removing users from the groups, upgrade your SharePoint framework projects to 1.8.1, which is the latest SharePoint framework. So this is one of, I mean, the CLI is awesome, but this is one of the coolest features, I think, of the CLI is the ability to easily update your existing SharePoint framework projects from older versions to the latest version automatically using this tool. So really cool thing if you haven't checked that out. Really amazing stuff. And then now handling throttling and as well gzip compression. So now I'm worried we need to be handling gzip compression somehow. So in progress, more commands for Teams, Flow, Power Apps, and SharePoint, simplifying the login process and as well improving the command name consistency. So as with a lot of things, as it grows, there's a little bit of drift on the naming, and so working on getting that back in line. As always, you can install the latest beta at npm install-g at pnp/office365-cli at next. More information at aka-ms0365-cli. There's as well a hashtag on Twitter and a Gitter channel as well. If you have questions, definitely check that out. And the CLI is an awesome cross-platform tool for managing your SharePoint deployments, your SharePoint farms, or is it called a farm still? Your SharePoint online tenant, and showing my age with that. And really cool tool. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. It's a really nice thing to have in your bag of tricks. Next up, the reusable components. So this is an update for specifically the React controls. So these are the ones used in the body of the web parts. And so we got some new release, so 1.13, new controls, a progress indicator, a date time picker, and a rich text field editor device, or control, sorry, very cool. And then some enhancements on some existing controls, as well as then some fixes for bugs that were reported to the issues list. So, and then as I keep saying, I can't say enough thank you to, in this case, these particular folks, Francis, Frederick, Hugo, oh man, I'm sorry, Tatvadas, I apologize, Oscar, Robert, and Alex. Thank you for you folks for contributing specifically to this release of the React controls. So thank you. Really appreciate your work there. And if you haven't used the reusable controls, we've got two sets of those, just to remind folks. The first is the property controls. That's the first link down there at the bottom. And the property controls are used in the edit pane of your web part. So when you go into that edit experience, and really give you a nice out-of-the-box look because they're styled with the Office UI fabric. So they look like SharePoint and behave like SharePoint, but allow you to jumpstart your projects, giving you a much richer editing experience with a lot less work. There's things like map pickers and date pickers and taxonomy pickers and all sorts of different edit controls or property controls there. And then the second library, which is the one we just discussed with the 1.13 update, is the reusable React controls. These are both React-based controls, I should say, but the reusable React controls are for the body of your web part. Generally for displaying information and, the kind of thing your users would see, not necessarily your content editors. So very cool stuff. And again, a great way to jumpstart your SharePoint framework projects in React. And finally, before we get to the demos, I want to update folks on the Community Yeoman generator. So for folks that aren't maybe familiar with this, this is an SPFx generator built on top of the out-of-the-box SharePoint framework generator. So you'll get a quote-unquote real SharePoint framework project through this. It isn't going to give you something different. So it's a real SharePoint framework project with all the same dependencies and libraries under the hood. The additions here allows you to easily include other things that aren't supported currently in the out-of-the-box Yeoman generator, things like adding PnP JS to your projects or the reusable controls or the CLI, but also picking different frameworks such as Angular or Vue, choices that aren't currently available in the out-of-the-box generator. And then in progress for this, updating the DevOps to use Jest instead of Mocha, selecting the TypeScript version for your project. So for folks that weren't aware, you can choose in one, I think Vesa 181 it was introduced, you can choose your own TypeScript version. And this, the Yeoman generator is working on adding support for helping with that, and then modularizing the gulp file injection. So as always, you can install the latest version from npm install -g at pnp/generator-spfx, and that will give you a really great tool, again, to help jumpstart your SharePoint framework development experience. So it works great with PnP JS and the controls as a way to start your project, pick different frameworks such as Angular or Vue, and really get your project off to a great start with minimal work right at the beginning. So fantastic work there from Stefan and then everybody else who's contributed. So again, I can't say it enough. Thank you to everybody that's helped make this possible. And with that, I think we've left plenty of time for our demos today. So first up is Ramin.
Yep.
Yeah, there you are.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ramin, and I'm a senior developer at Continent Code. And today I'm going to show you how you can print list items in SharePoint with a custom list view command set. So if you install this extension in your tenant and you add it as an app in a site collection, you can go to any custom list. And if you select an item, you can see this button here, print. And before I choose the existing template here, I want to show you how you can manage or create your own template. If you click on these settings, you're going to display this panel, so you can see all the templates here, and you can edit them or remove them, or you can create your own template. First, we need to give it a name, so I'm going to call it PnP Community Demo, and then you can just drag and drop your columns from the left side to the right side. If you want to categorize them, you can add sections like, for example, demo section. You can change the background color and also the font color, and you can add this section to the list, and then you can move them whenever you want. You can add more section. Sorry, I don't have mouse here. I need to use my keypad on laptop, and it's not working really well. Okay. After that, we have header and footer. For this, you can use the simple mode here. So you have a basic editor here you can use for adding your header and footer. or you can switch to advanced mode and add your custom elements, custom HTML elements, like or whatever you want. And then we have a feature here. So if you turn this on, I'm going to skip all the fields that have no value. So just skip them from the printing. And after that, as you can see, all the templates are here. And after you close that, you can select the templates here, and you can get this nice UI. And if you click on this print button, you can see you have a header and the content, and you can print it. You can also edit the template, or you can remove them from here. As you can see, I use the advanced mode to add this image to the header, so you can basically have any HTML elements on your footer or your header. And this is a demo for how you can use this extension. And in terms of the code, basically this is the extension, and this is it's using React. I have different components here. Basically, this is the settings panel that you can see all the templates here. You can modify it, remove or add templates from this component. This is the component for adding or updating the templates. So if you are interested in this drag and drop list, you can just open this file, and you can see all the data list here. So it has this drag and drop features here, and also this is a component for it's like a basic editor for header and footer that I use for this project. So if you add it, you can just have a really basic text editor. And also we have a service class here for basically manage the templates, adding templates, getting templates, or all the stuff we need to do with the templates, and also getting the fields for each list, because when you want to add when you want to drag and drop the fields, you need to get the fields first. So we need to ignore some of the default fields like content type, attachments. This is that I've done for this. So we basically just ignore them when we want to display all the fields for the users, so they can drag and drop the fields. And I think that's it. If you have any questions.
That's really cool. Thank you. Really impressive work there, especially on the UI design. That's very slick and very polished. So great work there. Great demo. Great to see. So thank you very much.
Thank you
for that. Very much appreciate that, Ramin. And now I believe David is up next.
Yes, sir.
Who's on the list? So if you are ready to take over and share your screen. I have, yes, so just got it.
All right, very good. All right, my name's David Warner. I try to be as active as possible, so here's my contact information. Work for Catapult, blog, vlog. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. So today, for my demo, we're going to talk about library components, specifically optimized bundling. So for those that are not as familiar with the library components yet, we'll have a brief overview just so you have a good awareness and context for what they can provide. And then we'll take a look at some of the awareness and gotchas that you'll need to know when you're building it, right? Specifically, how much you load it up with. So with that in mind, we'll see how we can optimize the bundling of our SharePoint library for the best page performance when our web parts or extensions use them. All right, so what are SharePoint library components? It's the ability to package up, using the SharePoint framework, third-party libraries or custom functionality within a hosted library component within our SharePoint tenancy. So, for example, in this demo, we could include in our library jQuery or Moment. They're both fairly large libraries. We're including them in this demo for that purpose, but they're also pretty popular. The middle icon here represents maybe perhaps custom functionality that we would use across our tenancy, maybe for our organization that's custom to us, but we use it across a lot of web parts or extensions. And so you can put them into a singular package file that we can see down here that can be deployed just like we would an extension or a library, an extension or a web part, and access it from those extensions and web parts. So in the end, what benefit does it provide? Well, within a SharePoint site collection, for example, here on the left, we have our SharePoint page, and these little boxes here may represent our web parts or an extension or something like that, and they may need to access our library. So typically, these would be bundled directly within our web part or extension, or we would reference them externally. So maybe that would be in a CDN we don't own, maybe it's in a SharePoint library that could accidentally be deleted. This allows us to package it all up and have it stored in our SharePoint tenancy, available for all site collections and available to all web parts and extensions we build. And so they are loaded once on a page, and that's a huge benefit. So multiple web parts on a page can access the component which is only loaded once. So that's exciting, right? So we want to go load it up. And so we go and we start learning more about libraries. There's some great documentation and tutorials on how to do that. So then we start pumping it full of functionality, and then we pump full of more functionality. And before you know it, we've overloaded it with functionality. And that can make it a little big. So to maybe provide another illustration, is there any Wreck-It Ralph fans that are on the call today? If you remember, if you're a parent or you like Wreck-It Ralph, in the last movie, at the end of the movie, Ralph, the hero, was playing a little video game, and he was inside of it, and he had bunnies that he had to feed, or a bunny that he had to feed pancakes to. So imagine if that bunny were our library, and imagine if those pancakes were our custom features. And so then we just start loading it up, and loading it up, and loading it up. And then eventually, what does it look like? Well, it's a little big, it's hard to keep filling, and if you make it that big, and that gets loaded on the page, our user's experience is going to result in yelling and screaming, and they're going to be shocked, and it's not a good thing, right? So we want to see how we can optimize the bundling. We're going to take a quick look at non-optimized bundling and why you might want to optimize the bundling, and you'll see what that means because we're going to put them into separate JS files in the bundle. All right, let's dive in. So to set the context here, I've scaffolded out two different libraries. One is a non-optimized bundling library, and one is an optimized bundling. Over here, I've just simply got a DOS command prompt opened to that non-optimized because we'll start there, and here are our two libraries. So we'll start with the non-optimized and just kind of look to see what's included. So we'll open it up, and we've simply just imported the three things that we identified in our slides: jQuery, Moment, and we created a couple of simple functions here for an alert and a console log. Nothing very complex, about as simple as you can get. And using the template tutorial that is available for the Microsoft documentation, we just return these inside of functions, or in this case actually do work inside the functions. And so if we go into the non-optimized bundling, we'll want to bundle these, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and kick off the gulp bundle, and we'll do it with a -- ship to get a good representation of what it would be like in production. Now, I've already pre-bundled these this morning just for sake of time, and we can see that our bundle here is 355K, right? And so that's pretty large. Imagine if your web parts or extension only needed to access one of these two guys, just want to write something to the console log and just want to provide an alert on the page. But because we've also included Moment and jQuery, well, now we have to pull down the entire bundle, like it or not, right? You get what you get, you don't throw a fit. It's kind of that scenario. But there is a better way. So let's look at the optimized bundling. We'll go ahead and close that, open up the optimized bundling, close this. The first thing you may see is we have more TypeScript files. So I've separated out into each TypeScript file what it is that we want to have done. Here's our console and alert. Here's our jQuery, similar to the exact same functionality that we saw But now this time, instead of just simply returning them, close this, we're using some async and await properties on our functions to provide that information back to our web parts and our back to our web parts and extensions. So if we go back up to our PnP demo, we'll go into optimized bundling. And let's go back into our distribution file. And I won't rebundle here just because of sake of time. I want to leave plenty of time for the other demo. But you can see now, when I bundled this morning, instead of one big bundle file, we actually have separate bundle files, right? So I can tell just by the size that this 2.2 is my custom functions, right? They are very small. If I open up my custom functions here, close it, we can see it's just two small functions that do two very simple things. That is only 1 kilobyte. And then I can tell just by knowing jQuery is 88K and Moment is 267K. So if I wanted to now pull in just this functionality to my web part or extension, I'm not having to load all this other stuff with it. I can literally just pull in this singular item. This singular import custom functions TS and this class and the functions that are available in it. And that's only going to be a payload at runtime of 1 kilobyte, right? So let's see what that looks like on an actual web part. I've got a web part set up here. I'm not going to go in how you consume that. There is information on the documentation on how to consume from a library. I just kind of want to show the payoff here. So I've set up a simple web part that allows us to import the various pieces that I just identified. I've preloaded the library in my tenant, and I've preloaded this web part in my tenant with buttons that will import each individual one. So keep an eye down here. I've scoped or filtered my network panel to Pop Warner, so that way it only shows what is going to be served up from my actual site here, from my tenant. And so we're going to go through and kind of import each of these individually. So we'll start with jQuery. So you can see, bam, I've actually used jQuery in this instance to not only load it, but then update this little panel right here. And you can see that that was the only thing that was loaded, was the 1.1, which is where the jQuery library is included. So now we know there's an alert on the custom functionality. We see it's called my alert. We see that right here. And we see that 2.2 was called in at only 1.1K. So now we benefit there. And then Moment. Now, if anyone saw my tweet before the call, I had mentioned that I was going to give a sneak preview of the next great superhero if you're excited about Avengers. So that moment has come, the moment you're all waiting for or dreading, one of the two. So we'll go ahead and import Moment. And, oh, who would have known it? Parker, the next Avenger, Operation PnP, right? But we've imported Moment right here, and we can see that being pulled in at 0.0, and we were able to utilize it right here, right? So we show the actual time. That was the exact moment that Parker became the next Avenger. So very cool stuff. It really opens up the ability to utilize library components, but I have to create a million if you don't want. If you want to create one library component that includes a lot of functionality so it's easier to maintain, then you can optimize the bundling of it. So go build some libraries, go optimize your bundling, and see Parker in theater soon. And I'll just leave you with one last slide. There is a ton of links here. I'm going to include them in the blog post that I make, but there's the overview, there's the tutorial, and there's the PnP repo that is now available. And a lot of other community people have been creating some fantastic stuff. Sergey has created a really good blog. Vardaman has a really good sample here, so these guys are awesome. Check them out as well. And thank you, Vesa. He just pasted in the sample that was just uploaded that you saw today is available in the GitHub repo now for you to go check out and play with and add to or modify. So thank you, guys.
Great stuff. Thank you, David, for that. Always excited to see a new Avenger appear. And I believe Federico is our final demo, if you are ready to go.
Yes.
Great. If you want to take over the sharing.
Yes. Can you see me?
Now I got you. You're up. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi guys, my name is Federico Porceddu. I am a senior developer in Avanade, Italy. Actually, I'm based in Cagliari, in Sardinia, at the Avanade Technology Center. Today, I'll show you an SPFx extension. Allows a user to define their own page model and reuse them easily without export page template, but directly into the modern team site. So here you can find my reference. Let's see together general needs. Every time you need to create a page model for a periodically publication, for instance, the page of the employee of the month, wiki post from general manager, etc. So if you need to, people often need to create periodically editorial pages with the same composition, section structure, etc. This kind of needs is frequent and usual in Internet Portal, and most likely for the reason SharePoint team released last month this feature as out of the box in SharePoint Online. So many thanks to SharePoint team for this really important improvement. What I show today is how to build our own feature of page model, adding a personal user experience. I did not intentionally consider to build a complex architecture, so I don't use Azure Function or Flow because I want to study and understand the power of PnP JS and use a client-side solution. So the solution consists in a Boolean side column applied to the page library. So what I think is that we can mark a pages model and realize an SPFx extension, which help to create a new page from a page model list. So the prerequisite is add a Boolean set column to the page library and name it is model, for instance. Then with an SPFx list view command set extension, using PnP JS and Office UI Fabric, we show a dialog with a list of page model. So we can start my demo. So this is my modern team site, and we can go to the page library, and we can see the command, the SPFx extension. And as you can see, there is a column is modern, Boolean. So there are some pages are marked as a model and some pages no. So what you can do is, for instance, mark this page like employee of the month as a model, and it's easy because I just need to modify this column. Okay, so what I did is mark a features model. So I can start to open my customization and show a model with choice button, and there are two choices. The first provide to you to create a not-coded page define use PnP JS client-side page, and we create a page with a people web part on the right and client-side text on the left, and it is totally hard-coded. And the other, so you can see all pages marked as model. So I can choose one of these, and I can create a page. So, and it's really quickly. Perfect. So the page is created in edit mode, so I can go to the new page. Okay. Oops. Perfect. So I can start to edit this page and modify, and these are really good point to start. So I modify is better than create from scratch. And look the code, and my solution is published in GitHub, obviously. And we can start with this is a standard SPFx okay, and there is only one command, and what we can see is that there is the PnP stub obviously in the onInit method, and in onExecute there is a switch with my page model dialog. This is my definition. And page model dialog, I just sorry, here's some rumors. Okay. Okay. And my page model dialog extends a base dialog that is a SharePoint framework dialog. So in my content, there are obviously the constructor and the first call to PnP JS. So I can retrieve all pages with is model equal true, and get all pages and put inside my dropdown. So this is the constructor. In the render, there is the dialog, obviously, and with this trick, I can manage the state, and I can choose which part to render. So there are the chess group, etc. The most interesting thing, in my opinion, is the part with the execute action. So I create a page model helper with all my function, and I create custom page method. And this method, there are all the codes with the PnPjs. So if we choose the case A, I start to build with PnPjs simple page. So I retrieve the page name I chose in the front end, and retrieve all web parts. And what I did is build my client-side web part, and with a lot of with all properties. So as we know, web parts, client-side web parts, we can set properties as so just with text. But I decided to build my own page. My own client-side web property for the people web part, for instance, so I can use all the power of TypeScript. And after all, I can just add the control in the column and the section, and save the page before I disable comment, because I decide to disable comment for this page, for instance, but it's just a sample. In the case B, the page model, based from an existing pages, as you can see, there are less lines of code, because the from version 1.3.0, if I remember well, PnPjs offer this extension method that is copy page, and so if you like to copy a page, you just call this extension method, and it's really easy and powerful. And I think this is all from my side. So thank you very much.
Great demo. Really interesting to see how you use PnPjs and move it in there. So that's awesome to see, and a really great application you've written there. So very cool demo. The code and everything was shared there in the chat, a link to that, so everybody could check that out and learn from that. So thank you, Federico, for that demo. Thank you, David, for your demo, and thank you, Ramin, for your demo. Appreciate all of those. 3 great demos today, and we have a little bit of time for Vesa to take over and share his desktop.
Yes, indeed. So thank you, Patrick, for noticing that. So on Federico's demo and the scenario, Federico's sample is actually slightly older, so it's already like a few months old. And at the time, there was no out-of-the-box functionality for creating page layouts and page content. And in that sense, the sample did make a lot of sense. But one thing what has been changed since that sample came into the GitHub, and it's still a super valuable sample for showing how to use PnPjs, is that we actually have also out-of-the-box page layout functionality, which is now rolling out to the target release tenants. And what I wanted to do quickly is show this one in practice, so you'll know how it actually works and how it relates on Federico's sample as well. So obviously, let's definitely not take get Federico's sample away from a GitHub because it is super valuable sample showing extensions, PnP JS usage, access on sites, and grading of the pages. But again, let's obviously always try to use out-of-the-box capabilities, and then if that's not enough, then let's extend that. But like I said, Federico's sample was created months before out-of-the-box capability is now available. Now, how does the out-of-the-box capability work? And this relates on the app pages as well. If you are on a communication site or a team site and you create a new page, you actually can see this out-of-the-box experience, where you can actually then start by default from 3 different page templates. And these are not page layouts, which is a really important thing to realize. These are page templates, so there is a significant difference on that, and I'll explain that one in a few minutes as well. Now, what's interesting here is also that there is the tab selection, that one over there. So if you have any custom SharePoint framework web parts which you want to expose as a single app pages, you are able to do, those will be visible in here. So you're able to then create, for example, personal email web part as an example. This is just a imaginary sample as an individual app page. So you don't have to, which cannot be modified. There's no additional text and that. So you will have a full page app page available. Now, I'll come back on that one in a second. Let's create first one page, create a new page using this basic text. I'll show you how this works in practice. There's my basic page. It is a page template. Why? Not a page template layout. Why? Because it's just the structure of the page. So you're able to basically then still modify the page. It's a starting point for you to take advantage within your structure. So anybody, end users, can just modify this. They can do whatever they want within the content. Let's add here demo column number 3, and that's really cool. Super cool page. Page. I'm not going to modify this too much. I'm going to publish that one in my site, and then we can actually see this interesting new capability, which is save page as a template. So save as a page template means that I'm actually taking now this page, which I was one, which I just created, and saving this as a new template. So let's give it a name of my awesome new page template. And we can see here, I can still modify this. Let's actually modify that to be column number 3 and smaller text. If I can write, I can't write smaller text. There we go. And let's save that as a page template. So it's pretty obvious what happened now. Is that if I go back on the front page of the site, so in if I how do I get there? Come on, do I need to click there? No. Why aren't those links? What happens? So okay, that's a different one. Interesting. Let me get in here. There was a interesting hiccup related on the home link. Now, if I now create a new page, it's pretty obvious that we will actually see my custom additional page available as well. I can select that one. It will render that one on the right side, and you're able to see that it's actually my custom third page layout option page in this case. And now, related on this one, absolutely, is then the single page app parts or single page single part app pages. So these are basically app pages which web part which has been defined to be available as an app page. So I'm able to create a page based on a personal email setting. I will create the page, and you're able to do this in the SharePoint framework starting from 1.8. Well, actually, yeah, 1.8 for GA. I can say that I want to see 3 emails. Let's give it a name, sample name, and let's save that. And voila, we have a full page rendered web part where you own the whole area on the page, except the header and the top header over there. Classic questions, what people are always asking when they see this is that, well, can I modify the header? Can I get rid of the header? And you can actually modify the header based on the header settings, but you can't get rid of the header fully. So there is no supported out-of-the-box way of hiding the SharePoint header in here, and that is by design, based on the design people in SharePoint. And there's no way, obviously, of hiding the top level either. Now, there might be that will introduce a way of getting rid of the top level section or the header section away. So please vote user voice and use the user voice for influencing on this decision. So, but this is the current implementation. It is now getting rolled out. The page template selection is getting rolled out to the targeted release tenants pretty soon, then worldwide. And already right now, when you're creating web parts, you're able to actually take advantage of the single part that page experience. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's questions related on can you use the template in multiple sites, and it would be really cool to combine this with a organizational assets, and I absolutely agree on those. So first of all, right now this is so to say, how would I put it? It's a minimal viable product version, which means that it's relatively simple. It's a starting point, and it only works in a single one site at a time. Now, technically, what you can do is that you're able to use provisioning or something else to get these templates to all of the sites. So that is absolutely possible, because what actually happens behind of the scenes is that we dynamically create a pages template library, templates folder inside of the site pages library, and there we actually have the actual page layout, which we created. So it is actually a page, but it has been marked to be a page template. So you could actually replicate this to be available in multiple sites, but they will be separate instances. Now, sooner or later, yes, there will be a organizational wide page templates provided by Microsoft, but I can't give you any timelines on that. It is absolutely in the roadmap. When do we get to that roadmap item? That's a separate discussion. Now, custom app part pages can be absolutely used tenant-wide, so you're able to, that's a good discussion on that one. So these one here, you can deploy a SPFx file, activate that one in a tenant level, and then that same web part will be available across all of the sites within your tenant. The same web part could be also exposed as a Teams tab and as a normal web part, so you can actually have multiple options available from a single web part as well. Now, on Chris Ken's question, put page on the templates folder, that's not enough. There is a attribute, so there's a metadata linking on the property of the item, if I remember correctly. We will look on getting that one documented. So what are the things, how to get things provisioned properly. And thank you, Patrick. Great timing to move back on the closing of the presentation. Is there a plan to support TAP in mobile devices? Absolutely, yes. So the desktop teams and the mobile teams, they're actually having problems because of the authentication models, and which is related on Azure AD and how Azure AD access tokens are being handled, and ADL.js implementation and all of that. So it's a long story, but we're looking into making all of this happen in the mobile devices and in the desktop UIs as well. Those changes should be rolling out relatively soon. But I think that's it from the questions side as well.
Awesome. So 4 demos today, 3 great demos from Ramin, David, and Federico, and then a bonus demo from Vesa, a fantastic call. Just want to remind folks, our next call will be in 2 weeks, May 9th, 2019, and that's in 2 weeks, and then the next general development special interest group will be next Thursday, which is May 2nd. Look forward to talking to you all then. Thank you all for attending the call today. I think today might have been a record attendance for us, so very much appreciate that. Thank you for making patterns and practices what it is, and talk to you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
You'll close first.
Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for the great demos.
Awesome. Thank you.